And we are live. Welcome, 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 everybody. Happy Sunday. This is Making Money Moves. Savings and investment tips for the savvy newcomer. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to learn, get those coins, get that money, and I'm excited to be doing this with you. I'm your host, Janie, aka Janie of Canada. And if you're new, where have you been? Because every third Sunday, we bring newcomers and newcomer friends to the channel to discuss everything that affects a newcomer. So career, life, business, and today's topic, especially your money. You do know you're not only hearing from me. So maybe if you're a newcomer to Canada or you're interested in being a newcomer to Canada, you definitely want to hit that subscribe and the bell notification so you never miss any content. And in between that, I actually drop videos where I talk about different things that affect a newcomer to Canada. So definitely don't miss that. You want to subscribe. So today's episode is very interesting. Obviously, you know how we're going to make our money. And we have not one, not two, but three guests. But there is a reason. There is a reason we're live today. So let me do some housekeeping, okay? The reason we're live is because we want you to be part of this session. So we have three guests speaking, but we also want you to take part in the session. So please, throughout the conversation, if anything hits you, you're like, oh my God, clap, clap, I love that. If you have any questions, leave it in the chat because we'll be taking your questions and definitely answering them. So we have the next hour together. I have done the job of creating some questions that I know a lot of newcomers ask me. I've been doing this for a while, and that's what we'll be starting with, but we definitely want to take your questions into account. Welcome, 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 everybody. Okay, so yeah, Reni brought me here. Hey, Tony, it's good to see you. Good, let me see where you guys are tuning in from. So we're actually tuning in from Toronto today. We're in another lockdown. So let me know, what part of the world are you tuning in from today? Because I just want to live vicariously through you, please. If you're in Toronto, let me know. If you're anywhere in Canada, let me know. If you're one of those people who are doing your homework ahead of time before you move to Canada, let me know. Okay, so this is exciting. There's almost 100 people signed up for the session today. So if you're catching the replay, we love you. Thank you for watching. So I want you to set your intentions for the next hour. What is the one thing you want to leave this conversation with? What's the one thing you want to leave the conversation with? So please leave that in the chat for us so we know that we take it into account when we're asking questions. My Jamaica people, my Nigerian people, look at that diversity in the house. I love it. Okay, so without further ado, I know you all didn't sign up to just hear from my pretty face today. So let us bring on our amazing guests, starting with Reni, Kike, and Julien. Woo, woo, woo. Happy Sunday. Welcome, 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 people. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Excited to be here.
Okay, good. Because we don't play. We don't have time. So let's actually start this and let's get into it. Tell the people a little bit about you. Some people actually came for one or two people. Tony came for you, Reni. Some people came for Kike and Julien. But for the rest of the people, let them know what they can ask you about. So let's start like this. Tell us what you love to do, what you get paid to do, and why you do it. So a little quick intro about you in 30 seconds. Julien, and because I have your name on screen, you're going first.
Let's do it. So my name is Julien RC, also known as Juju. I work in tech sales right now. I sell software, but I'm also the founder of 1% of Juju and of the 1% of Juju podcast, where I help people make smarter financial decisions and live and build financial independence in the future, really. The way I got into it is I started when I graduated in finance out of university and started working as a financial advisor, and really got passionate by that field, really, by personal finance and by personal making good financial decisions. And I am originally from Cameroon, so I saw a few people tuning in from Cameroon, so representing here.
Oui. Thank you so much, Juju. And so with that, Kike, please tell us what you love to do, what you get paid to do, and why you do it.
Thanks, Janie. Well, first thing, shout out to all my fans that are watching from all over the world. And I love to, I actually really love running and also talking about financial literacy for women especially. What do I do at work? I'm a commercial account manager with one of the financial institutions here in Toronto. I work with several business owners, helping them with the growth of their business. And what was the other question?
You pretty much answered it. And are you a newcomer or a newcomer friend? I think that is, some people have that question. Or you originally from
Depending on the timeline one is looking at. I've been in Canada since 2008, so I still consider myself an immigrant, but I'm also Canadian as well.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much, Kike. So you guys, wealth of wisdom on this great land of Canada on this call. So without further ado as well, last but not the least, our girl, Reni Odetoyinbo. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reni. What I love to do is I love to travel and be a resource to others, teaching others what I've learned and then basically telling them all about it. I have a YouTube channel where I do that. And then what I get paid to do is I am a marketing manager at the Bank of Montreal, and I create marketing plans that attract $1 million clients to the bank. So that's what I do by day. And why I do it is I like to teach Black and brown people about money and get more people learning about generational wealth. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
I know this session is God ordained today, Reni, because you just touched on my first question. So let's start. And we're going to start with the biggest elephant in the room. What for Black people talking about money? Truth is, growing up Nigerian, it's like you leave money to the parents, and then when you grow old, figure it out. So we have to talk about this obvious elephant in the room. As for Black people, this is not normal. In the world of personal finance, everything I've subscribed to is to buy people who don't look like me. So I'm very excited personally that we're actually sitting here today and talking about it. So in your opinion, speaking about generational wealth, what do people need to put in place to start to build generational wealth? If they're looking to start that, if that's their aim.
I can go.
Go ahead.
You take it.
Well, I think people need to consider that they need to plan for retirement. That is one thing that a number of people don't realize, that they have to put a plan in place for retirement. No one is going to tell you. This is something you have to start thinking about in your early age. And the sooner you think about it, the better it is for you to make a plan long term.
Awesome. Retirement. Julien, you have something to add?
Yeah, no, I would really go off of that as well, and just like understanding the differences between maybe what your parents and grandparents have done in their generation, and understanding where you find yourself. But just planning ahead, I think, like Kike mentioned, it's so important. It's going to make the whole process a lot easier, and it's going to allow you to break generational curses.
Awesome. So one thing I know some people are thinking off the bat, because I've heard it a lot, is, yeah, okay, cool, retirement. I'll do that when I'm older. You all are, I know for sure, are all younger. You're under 30. So have you started saving for retirement and planning for your future?
Definitely.
Of course.
Okay, so all of you in the chat telling me you're going to wait till you're 35. You're already and one thing we know about this is compound interest, which we talked about. Like, you need to start now to actually get that money coming. So let's actually start hardcore again. Thank you for sharing that. What are some financial mistakes you see newcomers making that you're just like, somebody tell them, man, somebody tell them? Reni, you want to start?
Sure. I would say the main mistake that I see is with credit cards, because I think I'm from Nigeria. So I would say in Nigeria, you either have the money to buy it or you don't have it, you know? So, when you come to Canada, they're like, oh, here's this credit card that has $1,000, $2,000, and you can buy whatever you want with it. And a lot of people get that, and they just, they spend it on whatever they want, and they don't pay it down in time. So I think it's not a bad thing to have credit cards, but you need to know how to use the credit cards before you actually get one. So I think that's the main problem that I see.
Yes, and we'll talk about credit cards, minimum balance and all that, but I've also made a whole video on how to actually use a credit card, right, to build it. So please check out the channel. And also Reni's YouTube is a big resource on everything financial and personal finance, rather. So speaking about credit cards, what are your thoughts on newcomers taking loans, and if they have to? Because at the end of the day, I feel like a credit card is a loan. What are your thoughts? Should they take out loans? What kind of loans should they take? And what is the behavior around taking loans?
I think I can touch on that a little bit, because taking loans, it could be your best friend or your worst enemy. I always say that. So really understanding why you're taking a loan and how to use it. So when you take out a loan, I always say you should use it as an investment. So you should only take out loans if you're getting something more in return, right? So if you're going to take, example, a loan out on a mortgage, you're going to pay, let's say, a 3% interest on your mortgage over the course of 30 years, but the value of your home may go up 10% every year, right? So in that situation, the loan makes a lot of sense because you're covering that gap and you're actually making more money than you're paying out to the bank. But a lot of people make that mistakes where, like Reni mentioned, they go out and they put a lot of money on a credit card, but they can't then pay it back.
Okay. So let's speak about, because we want the people to know that we're friends here, and it almost seems like now we're dishing out knowledge, but let's talk about the mistakes you have made when it comes to building your own personal finance. And Kike, obviously you moved to Canada a long time ago, you started young. So can you think of any mistakes you initially made and you've course corrected, or you continue to make today and you're just like, that's my burden, we'll be fine?
Mistakes, that's a very good question. I actually have been lucky just to have the right set of people, advisors around me, older people who I can seek to for advice. One thing I do want to point out for other individuals on the call is to not fall into Ponzi schemes. I find quite a number of immigrants move here and they're desperate to make money, which is totally understandable because we're in a society where you have to pay bills all the time. But Ponzi schemes are things you should not get involved in. You know,
how would I know a Ponzi scheme? Like, what are signs?
When people start telling you things like this investment is guaranteed, that's like the first red flag. Like, that's a big
red flag.
When people tell you things are guaranteed and you ask them, okay, what does the company do? And you get, I don't know. It's okay. How do they make money? I don't know. What are the risks? I don't know. Then you should run away.
I was also
let me go.
And I was also gonna say, if they're asking you to recruit other people in order for you to do well,
that is the one. That part, that right there. Listen, like I've had full-on presentations where they're like, "Oh, I want to meet you in your office," and I'm like, "Okay." And for 1 hour, they come with this beautiful like brochures, and then they're telling you how this company has been around, and then how much they have made. And then the next thing they're like, "For you to get to my level, you got to recruit 10 people. You have family," and I'm like, "Bro." Yeah. So that's a good telltale one. Okay, Reni, do you have something to say about mistakes you've made?
I would say, thankfully, my parents have been teaching me about financial literacy since I was 4 years old. So honestly, like I haven't made that many mistakes, but not budgeting would be a big mistake that I have made because I didn't realize how much money I really spend on food. So things get away from you. You know, you think that you have a lot of money, but at the end of the month, you've actually spent more money than has come in. So I think budgeting is a key one for me. It seems simple, but it actually makes a big difference when you start to budget.
You are definitely right. Some people, I've always thought I was frugal and I didn't spend so much until I took out an Excel sheet for 2 years straight and put things out there. And you won't believe it's the cheapest things. Like I'm a Shein, AliExpress girl. Like if you're my friend, you know, it's the $10 that got me. And then you look at my bank account and I'm like, Janey, you spent $1,500 on AliExpress in 2 months. and I'll talk about this again on my channel because I was able to pay out a huge amount of debt from budgeting, like actually putting out my expenses on the sheet. Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely touch on that. Julien, do you have anything else to add, or do you want to speak on budgeting and how you go around it?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think I can speak to budgeting a little bit because I've definitely seen that a lot from doing a lot of financial consulting. A lot of people, they tell me like, oh, I can't afford to save. Well, I can't afford to pay off my debt, but it's just because they have no idea where the money's actually going. But for myself, if I were to talk about a mistake specifically, I think that it's a little different because my mistakes have also been the things that work the best for me, but I'm very greedy. And sometimes taking a lot of risk has, come back to bite me. But in other situations, it's been very beneficial to me. But so one thing that I would say to people, definitely be careful when you take a lot of risk. Make sure it's something that you can afford to lose and you can, you can bounce back from it.
Speaking of that, like Julien has always tried to get me to do crazy things. So, and also before you even start investing in, like, you got to know your own threshold and the kind of things that would keep you up at night versus not. And we'll talk about that. But speaking about budgeting, Reni, you said you actually started budgeting early. Do you use any tools or do you just do good old Excel? Like, how do you go about budgeting usually?
Yeah, personally, I love Excel. I know a lot of people don't, but I do love a good Excel spreadsheet. But I bought a template from somebody else and then use that because it's more intuitive than what I could do personally. But I have used apps like Mint or Every Dollar, and I recommend those as well if you don't want to do all the manual work.
So I used my Excel sheet for 2 years, like literally every Sunday going in and manually looking at my account. And it gave me great insight as to how I spend money. And then I felt very comfortable then to move on to Mint because it's like you get a sense of how your money goes about every month. And then you can now do it automatically. So Mint definitely is good to check out. And guess what, guys? Mint is not paying us to do this plug. So
they should pay us.
Okay, so with that, let's talk about another fun fact about you three, because some people are asking right now if we're all in Toronto-ish, because like outskirts don't count, but ish. However, one thing, if you're new to Canada or if you've heard anything about Canada, we're literally trending right now for a crazy real estate market. It's like all-time high, everything's all-time high. Interest is low, but you can't buy a house if you're new or if you're young. And one thing, fun fact about our three guests today is that they all have houses. So you guys, they're all under 30. So what's going on? And that's why obviously they're teaching us how to get that money. So some people here are thinking, okay, I'm getting my money a little bit now. I'm saving some. I have some proof of funds, or I've worked a little bit in Canada, and I'm thinking of getting into the real estate market. Should I buy? Should I rent? What are your thoughts right now, considering the market in Canada?
I'll go.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kike.
I think I'm sure, Janey, you have a very diverse crowd. You have people from all over Canada, Toronto, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ottawa. I think before people jump into real estate, you have to ask yourself, okay, is this my personal home or is this an investment property? If this is an investment property and you want to rent it out, can you rent it out in a way such that you can cover all your costs? So you have to really run the numbers, and costs don't just involve your mortgage. You're looking at property tax, you're looking at utilities, you're looking at insurance. So you actually have to, unfortunately, use Excel. If you don't have Excel, write down all your costs and look at, okay, what is the market charging? Can I rent it for this price? And if everyone is saying buy real estate and you're not comfortable, you're not sure, or you're not comfortable with the risks that are involved, it is okay if you want to rent, as long as you're still saving or investing in other asset classes.
Thank you. About like normalizing renting. Any opposing thoughts?
No, I think that she really covered it. There's so many people that jump into this real estate game and don't understand all the underlying costs that go into it. I think that some mistakes that people make, and they don't realize, when you have a home and there's a leak in the house, right? You can't call your landlord anymore. You have to it comes out of pocket in order to fix that. So you mean to
tell me that down payment is not enough? Have I not tried?
Exactly. That's what a lot of people think, right? Okay, I saved up my down payment, I'm good. All I have is my mortgage, but there's all those costs that also come into it. And overall, in the long run, it can be very beneficial. But in the short term, if you're not ready for that financially and you haven't prepared the right way and haven't run your numbers, it can hurt you. And honestly, it's led to people to really bad things. I'm talking bankruptcies and things of that nature. So before you just jump blindly into it, make sure you understand the risks. Reni talked about it earlier, or it was Kike, sorry, that spoke about if someone tells you there's no risk to something, run away. So make sure that you make sure that you understand what the risks are, and before you jump into that.
Okay. And Reni, giving this market, say I've thought about all the costs, like I know the risk, I've thought about the costs. Would you advise that I should buy now, or should I just wait this hump out? What do you think?
To be honest, I think, as everyone said, it depends on your financial situation and what you think. But they always said the best time to buy is now, because even 5 years ago, they were saying, oh, it's so expensive. Like things are going to the housing market's going to crash. And look, if you had bought 5 years ago, you would be caking right now, So I bought my house last year, and my house was worth $340,000 when I bought it. Now it's worth $540,000, or almost $600,000 now. And it's just a year later, right? So
Reni, can I talk to you on the side about putting my name on the title?
Let's chat.
Shoot your shot. Wow.
I do want to jump in quickly just to say that real estate is also local. So what Reni might be speaking about might be related to Toronto, but might not really be related to Saskatchewan or Edmonton or Calgary. So you buy 5 years from now, 5 years ago, maybe 5 years now in Alberta, your house might be lower than what you actually bought it for. So real estate is local, just an FYI.
Okay. And I want to touch on that a little bit for that question, Janey, specifically, because one thing that you may hear a lot of people say as you listen to finance things more is time in the market is always going to be timing the market. So saying, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, should I buy now? Should I buy later? There's never really going to be a right time. You know, something like 2008, that would have been the perfect time to buy a house, right? Like if you're buying at the bottom of the crash, but you will never know when that bottom is. So making sure that you have a long-term view on it, and making sure that you can afford the payments for at least 5 years, if anything, is, I would say, like, you can't really lose in that situation.
Okay, so no, that's great to know then. So say you guys are telling me to put all my costs together, know like the all-in cost. There's never really a right time, so figure it out based on the environment and all of that. If I want to now have those conversations and figure that out, who should I be talking to?
Google.
Now, analysis paralysis, like everybody has an opinion. Should I be calling my bank? Should I be calling the mortgage broker or mortgage specialist? Like, who do you think is like the first person to talk to if I'm interested in getting into the market?
I think you should reach out to a real estate agent who can help you understand the market more, and also a mortgage broker. You don't have to actually have all the money saved up to talk to these people. They're actually just a good resource. And I've brought a few on my channel, so maybe like just watch the video, and learn more about them, and then book a consultation with them. It's usually free, and you can have a conversation, learn more about wherever you're looking to invest or purchase a house, and go from there. You don't need to commit to anything before you start those conversations.
Thank you, because that's another. I like that disclaimer, because sometimes Nigerians are like, I'm not calling nobody right now for to quote me $100 an hour. But that's the thing, not knowing the free things that are available to you. And thank you, Reni, for putting that out there. Speaking about free things that are available to people, a lot of us are working in the workforce. Some newcomers are still around their first jobs. And I remember when I moved to Canada, I was just like, please just pay me salary, let me just tell my mom that she got 2% and the rest I focus on bills. But there are some employer benefits that people don't even think to ask of or negotiate in their journey. So what are some typical employer benefits that a lot of people don't know about that people can be asking HR or talking to their employers about?
I love this question. Sorry, I'll go ahead. I love this question because I think that a lot of people forget about the employee share ownership plan. So this is essentially when your company says, if you put a percentage of your paycheck each month into our stocks, we'll buy our stocks and then maybe double it, or maybe we'll match the stocks that you put in, something like that. So I started this from the day I joined my company, which was 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. And I just checked it right now. And it's almost $20,000, and it's been 3 years, and it's just like 3% of my paycheck that has been going in. So I'm not a financial advisor or anything, so you don't have to take my advice, but always look at what benefits your company is offering, and if they do offer this employee share ownership plan, maybe check it out. Obviously, if your company is not a good company, do not invest in that employee share ownership plan. But yeah, there are some caveats. I also have a video about this if you want to watch that.
Resource XO Reni RENI, just in case. Like, are you guys getting out there? So, Julien, what are your thoughts on employer benefits? Because I know you've gone through some in your time.
Yeah, and one thing that I did, I've set up employee benefits for companies, and I've also helped, some of my clients understand their benefits. So I'm a huge fan of that. And just like Reni mentioned, I think that she touched on it, that understanding what is available to you, especially, you don't want to lose out on free money. If they're telling you if you put in 3%, we're going to match the 3%. You speak to your financial advisor. I love working with financial advisor, even though I was a financial advisor before, because they help me understand. They help me think about, they help me strategize and think about things that I may not have thought about before. But also, I'm making a podcast episode that's coming out tomorrow about how to actually increase your income, because a lot of people don't know about how to increase your income in the corporate world and how to really go about going to your employer and asking them to boost that income. So I think that's another really important, is how to ask for a raise, how to ask for your promotion, and how to do that effectively.
Awesome. And so that podcast is 1% of Juju. Check it out. We only have 1 hour because that's a whole topic. And I want you to listen to that podcast. So with that said, then this is the part where I was like, I know a lot of you are waiting for it. Some people are already in the chat talking about crypto. So this is where we talk about investments. But before we do, please, this big disclaimer, I wanted us to focus on this. We are not financial planners, financial advisors. This is not even advice. It doesn't constitute advice because people are like, oh, Kike, Janie, and Reni and Julien told me, nah, I will not. I will literally deny you. So what I wanted to do was just bring people who could talk
I will
about
change my name.
He will change his name. Personal opinions, just so that you get a sense of where to start or what their opinions are. Again, not financial advice. And so with that, if I have some money, I've saved some money, I've done my Excel sheets, I have looked at all the all-in costs of buying a property, but I want to start investing. What do you typically advise people to start with, DIY or financial planner advisor?
Well,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kike. Okay, I'll start because I was a financial advisor, so my opinion might be a little biased, but it all depends. Like I've met with a lot of people where I was like, it doesn't make sense for us to work together. Someone that really wants to be involved, that wants to track everything. Sometimes it's helpful to meet with someone to think about the things that maybe you aren't thinking about, right? To brainstorm some of the things you aren't thinking about. But if you're someone that really likes to be involved with it and that wants to do a lot of research, you can do it on your own. Financial planners also can cost a little bit of money every once in a while. So I would say do the research. If you're looking at things and you're like, I have no idea where to start, I have no idea what I'm doing here, call someone. There's so many resources out there, and a lot of them, they're not that expensive, and they will pay for themselves in how much they make you in the long run. Obviously, do a little bit of research. You want to find the right people, but I would say like it really depends on the person.
Awesome.
And I would also say I met with a financial advisor and I interviewed him and I asked him, so who actually needs to work with you? And he said you should ask yourself these 3 questions. Do you have the knowledge to invest? Yes or no? If you don't, obviously maybe go to a professional. So you have the knowledge, say, do you have the time to dedicate to the investing? Yes or no? And then the last one is, do you have the desire? So if all of those answers are yes, then maybe you can do DIY investing. But if you have like 2 no's and 1 yes, maybe you want to see a professional. But there's always ways to see a financial advisor, and then they don't have to do the investing for you. You can do they can help you plan and make a plan for yourself. And then at the end of the day, they give you advice on what you can do in the stock market and do it DIY. So I think there's no right answer for this. It's like, it really depends on your personal situation.
And thank you for breaking that down, because knowledge, time, and desire. Because initially, when I started investing, I saw a financial advisor who was recommended to me by Julien, a financial advisor, and he helped me plan out what I should be doing. But if you follow my channel, I'm team DIY. I'm like, I'm going to try to figure it out and learn about it. And I'm like, it's my $100. How much can I pay a financial advisor? It taught me a lot about investing. And I'm getting to the point where I'm like, tracking the index. I'm like, this is not an every Sunday job. I might actually want to outsource this. So that point about asking yourself those 3 questions at every interval, like knowledge, do you have the knowledge, do you have the time, and then the desire definitely helps make that decision. But if you're in Canada, there is a conversation about, okay, should I just take money from my check-ins account and go invest? But I've also heard about RSPs and TFSAs. How do those work? What should I start with? Or should I just use a regular cash account? This is now where we get into the details. Kike, want to start?
Yeah. Do not use your cash accounts if you've not maximized maybe your TFSA or RSPs. And what these accounts are, they're vehicles that help you reduce capital gains or maybe any dividend payments. So
capital what? Dividend? I don't know what those terms are.
For example, you make an investment in some company, right? If this money grows, if you invest in a TFSA, that income is not taxed. Don't forget, we're in Canada. Any income you make is taxable. So you want to think about, okay, TFSA or an RSP, which is still taxable if the money is withdrawn. But if you invested in your cash in a regular check-ins account, then the income that you gain on those investments will be taxed. So those are things one has to consider when picking the vehicles they want.
Okay. Reni, you have something to add about RSPs and TFSAs?
No, I think Kike covered it.
So let me then ask a question. So we know that Canadians have access to both RSPs and TFSAs. Which one should I start with? Like, how do I know which one to open first? How many can I have? Is it just one of each, or like typically tell me, what should I start with?
Yeah, from a standpoint of how many accounts you can have of each, you can have as many accounts, but like the contribution, and that's something you should speak to your tax advisor or your accountant every single year about, because there's a certain amount of contributions that you can put in each one of them. But where to start? I always tell people having tax strategy around how you're going to pull out money is very important in where you put money in and where you start investing. So just understanding, well, if I put money in an RSP, okay, that's fine, you're going to get a tax deduction today, but just understand that in the future you're going to have to pay taxes at some point, and if you take the money out early, you're going to have to pay certain penalties, right? So if you put money in a TFSA, that's great, you can pull it out at any time, but there's only a certain amount of money that you can put in there, and once you put the money in, that contribution is gone to some extent. So just like having a good understanding and sitting down with a professional if you don't understand it. There's a lot of these questions. It's hard because I feel like we're giving to some extent vague answers, but there's no one word fits all answers. It's very tailored to every individual, but just take some time with an individual to actually understand how they all work and which one is best for you.
Okay. So from my personal experience, I would, again, because the RSP, you can't take money out of it without the tax penalty, because it's supposed to be a retirement investment account. And don't let the name RSPs, like savings plans, confuse you. They're investment accounts. Like, please don't waste cash space in there because you only have a limited space.
Yeah.
Then I would say maybe the RSP is typically used for retirement. However, if you're looking to buy a house as a first-time home buyer, especially too, there's that home buyer's plan where you can use that money in your RSP, take it out for that exception or for an education plan. And that's what we're doing right now currently. So I think, again, sitting with that financial plan and advisor to say, how do I use these tools based on our goals of, oh, there's a house, there's a car coming, there's travel, like where should I put what? Speaking about travel and immediate purchases like a car, let's talk about emergency savings accounts. Should I have, or rather emergency savings funds, should I have that first before I start investing, or should I do it in simultaneously? And what is a good amount to save up before I start investing? That's like worded, but I'm hoping you can pick up.
3 to 6 months emergency savings, I would say.
3 to 6 months of what?
Of your expenses, your monthly expenses. So emergency savings is just if something happens and you don't have, you need liquid cash, that is where the emergency savings will come into place. So I would recommend, or there's been lots of data that would recommend around 3 to 6 months.
Okay. And Reni, where should I be putting that 3 to 6 months of income, or rather of expenses that I'm considering as my emergency savings?
Yeah, so I personally like keeping mine in a high interest savings account just because I don't want to keep it tied up in my investments, or I don't want to keep it in a checking account, which is not giving me any interest. So I always suggest a high interest savings account. And there are lots of them here in Canada, EQ Bank, BMO, TD, they all have high interest savings accounts, but look for the one that has the highest interest, of course.
Awesome. Julien, got anything to add?
Yeah, no, I would say that's really important. And the reason for that, because Reni spoke about not liking to keep that in her investment accounts. And the reason for that is just you always have to think about worst case scenario, right? Like if you lose your job and you can't find a job for 3 months, and at the same time the market is down, you probably don't want to take money out of your investments in order to cover an emergency or something of that nature. So make sure that you have a certain pool of money that's in a high interest savings account that you can tap in case of that worst case scenario.
Yeah. Okay. And I also want to emphasize that the 3 to 6 months is just a guide. It really depends on your individual situation. Like if you work in an industry where it may take you a lot more longer than 6 months if you did lose your job to get a new job, maybe save 9 months, maybe save a year. Like it really depends on your situation. Once again, not financial advisor, so it's best for you.
Yeah, all these things need to be tailored, right? Like if you're a business owner, you may need to keep more, right? Because you have a lot more expenses and things like that. So a good point, Reni.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not as thankfully, we're going to do another session for business owners and all of that. So you definitely want to subscribe. Guys, I don't know if we're answering all your questions in our banter so far, but if we're not, remember to use the chat because we're going to be answering your questions live. And so with that, we do have some questions in the chat. So Kike wants to know, can someone buy a house from outside Canada? Do you guys know?
Yeah, so you can purchase a house from outside Canada, but the only problem is there's a pretty big tax if you are a non-resident of Canada. So honestly, most people don't suggest unless you have a lot of money, I guess, but I think it's 15% extra tax on top of the purchase price. So it's quite hefty.
So your advice is get into Canada or let somebody in Canada buy on your behalf, because it doesn't, especially with the market we currently have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's go ahead.
Or you can, if some people have so much money they just want to buy in Canada. If you're not
Asian
sure,
money, you know what I'm saying?
if you're not sure of some of the tax penalties, there are accountants who work with foreign investors who can help you. So maybe you can find an accountant that understands the maybe tax implications that come with making such purchases. So just make sure you do some research before you do something like that.
Awesome. Did I touch on it, Julien?
Yeah, not much to add. I think that they touched on most of it, but it's also going to be considered an investment property and not like a property that a primary home property. So you're going to lose certain advantages that you would have living in Canada. So there's also that to consider, but it's doable.
Okay. People have done it. Awesome. So there's the big fish that we haven't even delved into yet that someone already wants to know. Sammy is asking, do you mind speaking about crypto? There's serious FOMO out there. Sammy, I hear you, bro. It's like everywhere you look, someone's like, well, not started investing in crypto, you're losing 10 million. I'm like, it's fine. I don't even have 10 million.
I think we should ask Tommy why he's having FOMO. That's the question.
Yeah.
Throwback at him. Why is
everybody, their daddies, their mommies, and their grandmas are buying crypto. So
I think,
what are we supposed to do?
I think I can touch on it a little bit. And I think that the FOMO comes from the uncertainty. And I think that you shouldn't necessarily be having FOMO right now because a lot of people are jumping into it blindly. A lot of people are jumping into it, not really knowing what they're doing and putting a lot of money that they cannot afford to lose. Obviously, I've been in crypto, but I don't understand it as well. Right. So we spoke about this actually ahead of time, and we were all saying, we don't have the best understanding. So it's been something that's okay. Well, let's try it out. Let's see what's out there. But at the same time, you got to make sure that it's money that you can afford to lose. And if you make money off of that, great. That's extra. I spoke a little bit at the beginning about me being someone that's very aggressive. So that's where I will put my very aggressive money in, but I won't cash out any accounts, in order to put it all in crypto to make sure I don't miss out.
And to even add to that, for any asset class, crypto, stocks, whatever you decide to do, you need to actually understand what you're investing in. Okay, how do they make money? What are the risks? What is my long-term goal? Can I deal with the volatility that's going on in the market? With crypto, you wake up one morning, Elon Musk tweets something. You wake up the next day, there's another tweet from Elon Musk. Can you deal with that? So those are questions you want to ask yourself before jumping into any kind of investment, be it crypto or any other asset class.
Yeah, I always say crypto is not for the faint of heart at all.
AKA Janey has left the chat.
Yeah, I just got into crypto. I think it's been like 2 weeks now, and I've been updating people on my stories just so people can know more about
I've been
it.
watching that.
Yeah, so it's very volatile, I will say. Like one day you put $500 in, tomorrow it could be $200, the next day it could be $1,000. It's honestly ridiculous. So I would say if you're gonna get into it, make sure it's money that you can afford to lose, because
that's money that Nigerians typically call vex money.
and the other thing is, like, there's also so many, because there's so much unknown, there's also challenges that we aren't even aware of. A couple of years ago in 2017, when the Bitcoin craze started, a lot of people came across a problem where they weren't able to take the money out. They made a bunch of money, but they had liquidity issues because they had no idea that it was going to grow that much. It was all electronic and things like that. So, understand that there are some risks that you may not even be thinking about right now when it comes to taking your money out at some point if you really need it.
Gotcha. No, thank you. And so for the DIY people, some people who have FOMO, who are looking to start, who are like, listen, I don't have enough money to consult a financial planner. I just want to test this thing out. I have my emergency savings fund. What would you advise people to start with? Like robo-advisor, index funds, or stock picking? And please, you can define any of these things before you answer.
I'll take this one. So for now, so before you even decide whether you want robo-advisor, index fund, or stock picking, I think some questions you need to ask yourself is, okay, what is my goal? Is this long-term? Is this short-term? Do I want to be active in the market, or do I want to be passive? So there are several questionnaires online that can help you decide maybe your risk tolerance, your strategy. If you're trying to buy a house, maybe you don't want to be investing, actually. Maybe you might want to put the money in a guaranteed investment certificate, which is a GIC. So there's some questions you really have to ask yourself before you choose what asset class you want to buy.
Awesome. Thank you. And so I'll share personally that I knew that stock picking wasn't for me early on because of all the research involved. Like, you got to be following these companies, following that industry. And I was just like, I ain't got time for this. So I'm a passive couch potato strategy type person. It's like, take my cons, I will just invest a certain amount every day. So I do a mix of robo-advisor and index funds because of where I'm at right now. So that's why I take those questionnaires and get a sense of where you are, and then I will help you decide. And so we do have some questions coming in. First of all, Tony says, I've had more heartbreaks than crypto in love. Bro, I feel you. Listen, I'm too fragile for all of that. Let's not do it. But he also is asking, retirement savings account or retirement stocks with a generational company like, say, Google or Apple, which is better? Is this clear?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but if he's asking which company is better,
I think it's asking like maybe a savings account, individual one, or like getting a stock option or employee sharing plan with a company. I'm not sure.
If you're getting an employee plan, it still needs to be housed in maybe a tax-free account. So maybe an RSP or TFSA. So maybe I think there might be some confusion with stock and actually where it's housed. I am not sure I understand the question.
Okay, so we'll ask Tony to clarify his question and come back to it. So just to say, you guys, RSP TFSAs are buckets, things that hold different things in it.
Exactly.
So, stocks, cash,
and then
gold,
in those
whatever.
buckets you can buy different stocks. So yeah, that's why I was going to clarify. But
okay,
exactly,
perfect. So Life with Lammy is asking, which is more valuable to buy, a condo, apartment, or an actual house? What do you guys think?
Yeah. So I can touch on it because I've actually done both. So I've gone the condo route and I've gone the house route. So they're very different. If you think about more valuable, personally, I would say probably the freehold house, just because you have a lot more flexibility with it. You know, you can do as many renovations as you want. You can change things up or whatever you want. While in a condo, you're limited by a condo association. You will have to pay condo fees and things of that nature. But in both situations, they can be very, very beneficial. A condo can be easier to get into, right? Initially, when you're looking to save up, there's advantages there. But like I said, none of them are bad. It really depends on your situation.
Okay, so again, speak to those mortgage people, the real estate agent, and the bank, and they'll give you a sense.
Yeah, and what you just said, a condo is usually easier to get into, or especially as a first-time home buyer, I would say it's easier to maintain as well. Like, my property is a condo, so if anything happens to the roof, it's a condo townhouse. If anything happens to the roof, if anything happens to anything outside, all I do is call the condo and I'm like, fix this right now. So it's kind of like you still have a landlord who can take care of a few things. You're obviously responsible for inside, but I think I really like it because like a lot of things are covered by my condo.
Awesome, thank you. And you guys,
and you cover some of these things together, like, you know, snow removal and things like that. You cover it together instead of only having to cover that yourself. So there's advantages and disadvantages.
Okay, so again, I hope we're able to answer this question for you. And so you guys, you should definitely subscribe to the channel because there's a video coming up. Julien has 3 houses. He's gone the different routes, and we actually go in detail about how he did it, all the dollar amounts, timelines, and everything. So definitely subscribe because that video is coming up soon. And EJ wants to know, actually, let's do EJ's question first. Can you quickly talk about how you can harvest your crypto funds, or how quickly can you harvest your crypto funds? You guys know?
It's just like any investment, right? So like you put it in, and then whenever you feel like the gain you've made is good enough for you, right? You take it out. I don't know exactly if that's what you mean by harvest, but yeah, as quickly or as slow as you want.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much instant to you just sell the crypto at the price that's selling at now, and then you can take out your funds. But as Juju said, there have been liquidity issues in the past. I don't know if it's still happening to this day, but something to consider.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Collins wants to know, can you please talk about mutual funds? I'm not sure what he wants to know about it, but maybe you can just explain it in quick high level detail.
Yeah, I can, because I actually used to sell them. So mutual funds, essentially what they are a collection of stocks and bonds that are picked by investment advisors, that are picked by a group of fund managers, right? And they're saying, okay, well, based on your risk assessment, we think that we will create a bucket for you of this stock and this stock and this stock and this bond, and we think that this is going to be right for you. And then you can get different types of mutual funds. They tend to be a little bit more expensive because those fund managers, they manage them actively. So they're always looking at, okay, well, this stock went up, I need to sell a little bit more of this one and buy more of this one, so we stay balanced in those. So they tend to be a little bit more expensive. But they can be a great option as well when it comes to investment and deferring that your investment responsibilities to someone else.
Awesome. And the only thing I'll say with mutual funds is maybe check on what the management expense ratio is, because over time that could be a big fee out of your investment. Again, depending on how much you want to invest. And this is a question to ask your financial advisor. Okay, so 2 more questions and then we'll wrap up the Q&A. When it comes to long-term investments, what should one consider, especially when you're in your 20s?
I could take this one. I think things that are very important to consider when you're investing is, okay, when do you need these funds? Is this a long-term or is this short-term? Is this a short-term investment? Another thing you want to consider is, what is your risk tolerance? Are you someone who gets scared when the market is down, or are you someone who feels that, okay, things will get back up? So like I mentioned earlier, there's several questionnaires that can help you guide you on how to determine what your risk tolerance is. And this questionnaires then spit out like an investment strategy for you. Once you've determined that, then now you have to decide, okay, what brokerage do I want? Do I want to use the banks? Do I want to use the maybe Wealthsimple or Questrade? To pick those ones, you still have to ask yourself questions. What is the minimum investment? What are the fees they're charging? What is the transaction cost? So there's quite a number of questions you have to ask yourself before you actually go into investing.
But I'll say, don't let that scare you. The best day to start investing is yesterday. The next best day is today. So you better get it. And so I'm just asking one final question. She's not sure if this is within the context of the discussion, but what are your thoughts on having a line of credit? Who wants to take this one?
I can take it. I'm happy to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I personally love my line of credit. I use it a lot. I think that having a line of credit doesn't mean you need to use it. But what it does for me is it gives me leverage, right? And I don't necessarily have to sell my investments in some situations, or I don't necessarily have to take money that is out there making 10-15% return for me, and I can just use that line of credit to take advantage of some opportunities. I use my line of credit a lot when it comes to doing renovations in homes and things of that nature. So in that situation, right, like I pay maybe 5% of interest on my line of credit, and I go out and I make way more than that on return on a flip or something like that. So a line of credit is great for leverage. Just make sure that you really understand what it actually is and how to use it efficiently.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are scared of a line of credit, and like they get offered it by their bank, and they're like, no, I don't want that.
Free thing. It's like when you see free thing, you're like, what's the catch?
Yeah, exactly. It seems a little like I got offered a few weeks ago, and I'm like, right? A lot of people would be like, but I was like, yes, give me all of that. I want all of that. So especially when you're building your credit, having a line of credit, even if you don't use it, as Julien said, it's a good thing to have just in your back pocket.
So should I be taking a line of credit before I'm paying down mortgage, or should I do it before I'm trying to buy a house, or should I be doing it after the process?
I would say if they offer it to you, then they're not doing a credit check, and then it's okay to accept. But if you shouldn't go applying for extra credit before your mortgage closes, because every time someone checks your credit, then it can, how do I describe this? Every credit check can impact your credit score ultimately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about credit on both our channels, so please check it out. Because of time, we literally only have 10 minutes. I personally want to get to the fun part where we get to do this really fun game. So settle in, guys. This is going to be fun. So we're going to play a rapid fire session called Unpopular Opinion, this or that. And the way this game is going to work is we're going to ask our guests A, B, or C, like A or B or A, B or C. And all they're going to do is say their choice. No explanations whatsoever. You know their name. So if you have any questions around why did you choose this versus that, follow them on XO Reni. It's Juju, and you can always find Kike on LinkedIn. So without further ado, let's do it. This or that, and you have to say which one you prefer. Crypto.
And this is just our opinion, right? This is not recommendation.
Yes, please. This is again. Please don't say Julien, Reni, or Kike or Janey told you anything. It's just fun and banter. So let's go. We ready? Let's number one, crypto or stocks?
Stocks.
Pass.
It's like I'm not saying anything. Okay. So speaking about stocks, what would you prefer? Day trade versus long-term hold?
Long term.
Day trade. Told you guys I'm the risky guy.
Everything Julien has said on this call. Okay. Speaking about trading and long-term, wealth simple versus quest trade.
Wealth simple.
Yeah, well, simple.
Quest trade.
Okay. On budgeting and Mint versus Excel sheets.
Excel.
That's a Mint.
Excel.
Okay. DIY versus financial advisor.
A mix of both.
Okay.
But DIY.
Financial advisor.
Do both.
Do both. Okay. Paying for stuff, cash versus or card.
Card.
Cash, because we do online scams here. I'm Nigerian after. I'm kidding.
Money.
Credit cards balance, pay minimum versus paying full.
Full.
Always.
Full. And this is recommendation. Always pay in full.
Are you guys hearing? So all that scam about pay minimum. That's a scheme.
No.
That's a scam. Okay.
Yeah.
Credit cards, cash back or reward points.
Cashback.
Rewards.
We like some money on here. Okay. And on house, buy or rent.
Rent.
Buy.
Bye.
Hey, bye. Sorry, I'm doing the like thing. Okay. On house, flips versus long-term hold.
Long-term hold.
Let's get those flips in.
I love that we're really balancing everything. And then on cars, we didn't go too much into cars, but on cars, buy out, lease, or finance.
Finance.
Buy
Don't have
out.
a car.
Say again?
Don't have a car.
Oh, said the person who has a car.
That is a really good one. I kind of like
Don't
that.
have a car in Toronto.
I kind of like that one.
I
would
love
say cash.
Okay. You say cash?
Yeah.
Okay, look, there's a lot of scammers on this call. So to close this, thank you all so much. To close this, we have to leave the people with one thing. Julien is a certified risk taker. See, you have that right. Okay, to close this, we had to talk about this. What are some best kept secrets about investments or savings, especially as an immigrant, that people need to know about? This is an opportunity to share a tool, a tip, or a resource that has helped you and that people should definitely know about. Who wants to start?
I can start, and I spoke about this when we spoke on YouTube as well. Is understanding how other people take advantage of someone else's money in order to make money. I speak about it on my podcast a little bit, and I spoke about it on your YouTube channel. But really, just understanding how to leverage, whether it's the bank's money or borrowing someone's money in order to go out and make a bigger return and then pay that person back. I think that's what a lot of really rich people do, and it's something that a lot of people don't know about.
So like the Robin Hoods of the world, like take from one place, get better interest and all of that. So I guess Juju's plug in his resource. We'll learn a lot about how to make our money work for us. Oh, sorry, how to make someone else's money work for us.
Work for you, though.
Exactly. Reni, what is your one takeaway?
I would also say, but mine would be make your own money work for you. I think a lot of people focus on savings, but the reality is you can't save yourself to wealth. Like I think it's impossible to actually save yourself to being wealthy. So always try and make your money work for you, which means putting your money in different investments and helping your money grow long term. So that's my main advice. And check out my channel where you can learn all about that.
That's my girl. And the channel is XORENI on YouTube. Not hard to miss. No, please, never. And what is the one thing you want people to leave with?
For any investment, always ask about the risks. Asking about the risk does not mean you're not going to invest, but you want to have more information so you can make a better informed decision. It doesn't matter if it's a house, stock, index funds, mutual funds. Always try to ask for what are the risks involved, then weigh the probability of these risks and make a decision. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Because one thing I learned how to do moving here is like the culture I come from, it's like on your own, figure it out. One day you're a millennial, you come help your entire village versus asking a lot of questions. So, and a lot of times, like I literally still get surprised by how information is free. I legit went into my bank app and then there's like, you can call a mortgage specialist and I just press call and they picked up. I'm like, oh, you picked up. And she's like, why are you surprised? And I'm like, I just didn't expect that you'll be available and free. But you're right. Ask questions to anybody and their daddies. Thank you all so much. You guys will learn so much about knowledge and time and desire when it comes to investment. Things like long-term risk tolerance and like your understanding of how brokerages work. This has been very impactful for me. I hope it has been for you as well. And so with that, I want to say thank you, Julien. Thank you, Reni. And thank you, Kike. Have a lovely Sunday.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And so you guys, this was very, very impactful for me. I hope it was for you. Please send in any questions you have. I will be posting this up as a replay for later. If you want to come back and go through the tips, remember to share with one friend and then let us know in the comments what other sessions you want to see, what type of newcomers you want us featured on the channel for, because next month, the third Sunday again, we'll be going live talking about issues that affect newcomers, featured by other newcomers and newcomer friends. It's been a pleasure being your host, and I'm so grateful for the time we've shared. Remember to subscribe again, and I will see you next month. Okay, thank you all so much. Take it easy. Have a good one. Bye now.